Welcome back, everyone. Rabbi Nathan Zaboulani here, learning Rabbenu Avraham ben Harambam on Parashat Vayetze, specifically focusing on the business ethics. Rabbenu Avraham analyzes Yaakov's dealings throughout the parasha and notices and points out how diligent Yaakov was in all of his business dealings. Let's start with a pasuk that's seemingly unrelated to this topic. Vayavo Yaakov min hasadeh ba'erev. Yaakov returns home after being in the field working for Lavan. He comes home at nighttime. Now, this pasuk is really dealing with what? Leah comes towards him. You're coming with me. You're coming by me. I made an exchange. Because Reuven found these dudaim, these types of plants, herbs, flowers, and brought it to his mother. Leah gave it to Rachel in exchange that Rachel would give her Yaakov for the night. And that's what's happening in the pasuk. Now, Rabbeinu Avraham points out the seemingly extra first few words of the pasuk. What do I need to know that Yaakov was in the sadeh and he came back in the erev? It is seemingly unrelated to the story that is at hand. And Rabbeinu Avraham says, really, this story is about Rachel and Leah and what had transpired between them. However, but here we see a hint to how honest Yaakov Avinu was in all of the work that he did. At the end of the day, he was a sachir, he was a worker of Lavan. He did not clock out. He wasn't the son-in-law of Lavan, so he thought he could take advantage of the situation. No one's watching, goes home early. But no, he was in the sadeh, going back to the pasuk, and he comes back ba'erev. He worked a full day, the full prescribed time that he was supposed to work. And Rabbeinu Avraham says this is obvious. Obviously, this was the case. Earlier in the parasha, when he arrives, and he sees that the ro'im, the shepherds, are kind of just idly chilling, hanging out, not doing anything. Yaakov yells at them and says, this is not the time to stop working. The day hasn't ended. The hours are not done yet. You have to continue working. And then he proceeds to go and take the rock off of the well in order to water the sheep. And here we see how diligent, how strict Yaakov was with not wasting a moment, not only with Avodat Hashem, but specifically if you are a worker and you are on the clock, to not take advantage of your boss in any way, shape, or form. And this is, in fact, the halacha that we learned from Harambam, Rabbeinu Avraham's father, in Mishneh Torah Hilchot Sechirut. We know that certainly it is asur for an employer to take advantage of his employee, to skim some money off of his paycheck or anything along those lines. That's asur. That's a terrible thing, to delay the wages of your worker. But also, also the worker, doesn't matter if he's poor or not, he is not allowed to skim, to waste his time, to be idle, to not work when he is on the clock. And that would be deceitful. That would be lying. That would be stealing from his employer. You have to be so strict. You have to be so thorough in your work time. Look how far the rabbis took this law, this stringency on not stealing from your employer. We know that Birkat HaMazon is a mitzvah deoraita, to bless Borei Olam after your meal. And at the same time, the fourth beracha, Birkat HaMazon, is the Rabbanan. And the rabbi said, if you are a worker on the clock, you have to say Birkat HaMazon. Do not say the fourth beracha, Birkat HaMazon. Why? Because you have to go back to work. Don't waste your time. Go back to work and do not steal the time that your employer is expecting you to work. So forget about that fourth beracha, said the rabbis. It's from us, and we have the authority to tell you not to do it, but rather to focus on the mitzvah at hand and not to steal. But it's not only a matter of time, it's also a matter of effort, that you should work with all of your strength and focus and intention. Where do we learn this from? Rambam says he learns this from Yaakov. And this is not common in Mishneh Torah for Harambam to bring a halacha and to attribute it to one of the characters in Tanakh, but he does so here, and he says, Sharei Yaakov. He doesn't call him Yaakov Avinu here. He calls him Sharei Yaakov Hatzadik. There are certain characters that are known as Tzaddik. For example, Yosef HaTzadik. But rarely do we see this phrase, Yaakov HaTzadik. Why is he referring to Yaakov in this phrase? We're going to see in the next slide. But in the meantime, says Harambam, Amar ki bechol kochi avati et avichen. Yaakov, talking to his wives, says to them, listen, I worked for your father Lavan b'chol kochi, with all of my energy, with all of my effort. It's not only a matter of being there when you're supposed to be there to the fullest. It's also about being there physically, being there with your mind, giving it your all of your effort while you are supposed to be at work. Not only is he rewarded in Olam Haba for this, he's also rewarded in Olam Hazeh, because at the end of his exchange with Lavan, Yaakov was very successful. He made a lot of money out of this entire thing. Yaakov is attributing this because of his honesty in all of his business dealings, how much effort he put in and did not take advantage of Lavan in any way. Now, on the matter of why Yaakov is called Yaakov HaTzadik, we see this also in this week's Parasha, when Yaakov is dealing with Lavan on what he's going to take when he leaves and what Lavan is going to take. Yaakov is so detailed. The negotiation is so, there's so many intricacies to this negotiation. You say to yourself, why do we need to know all of this? Why are they going and being so precise in who takes what kind of animal, nikudim, teluim? Why is this relevant? Yaakov says, tomorrow, if you were to come and say that, Yaakov, you took something you weren't supposed to do, no, it's all detailed, it's all outlined, it's all specified right over here, and that will testify to my righteousness. And over here, Rabbenu Avraham says, from here we learn incredible musar from Yaakov Avinu. This is why Rambam calls him in this context Yaakov HaTzadik, because of his honesty, because of his diligence in all of his business dealings. He's known as a tzaddik. That is what a tzaddik is. And Rabbeinu Avraham teaches us that this musar that we learn from here is that if Yaakov was so worried that someone might interpret his actions to be dishonest, even though he wasn't dishonest, he knew he was honest in everything that he was doing, but that wasn't enough. He had to be menakeh et atzmo. He had to make it very clear to everybody that no one could doubt him, that no one could suspect him of taking something he was not supposed to take, of doing something that he was not supposed to do, even though Yaakov knew that he was honest. He wanted everyone else to know that there should be no doubt in that matter. The hashadim, that no one should suspect him. How much more so should we, who were not on the level of Yaakov Avinu? We have not the confidence that we are as scrupulous as Yaakov Avinu was in all of his business dealings. But if Yaakov was so strict that everyone should know that he did not take something he did not take, so too we should be very careful not to do anything that could be misinterpreted or even misconstrued as something as dishonest. Not only do we have to be honest, we have to present that honesty, prove that honesty to everyone that is around us in order to maintain that sitkut that we learn from Yaakov Avinu. Chazak u'baruch, everyone. Hope you enjoy the parasha and what we learned from Rabbeinu Avraham. Stay tuned for the next class through Tanakh study. Have a great week.